Hello and welcome back to my channel. For those that are new here, my name is Patrice. I am a board certified family nurse practitioner and I specialize in internal medicine and urgent care. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about what to do when you're nearing graduation or once you've graduated, what steps you should be doing, in my opinion, to prepare for your new role. So if you're interested in what you should be doing once you graduate from nurse practitioner school, then keep watching. So how this topic came about is the other day I was talking to one of my students who graduates in November, and I was like, who do you plan on testing with? What are your plans once you graduate? And she said, well, what do you mean? What do you mean, who do I test with? She had no clue what needs to be done in order to actually start working as a nurse practitioner. And she knew that you had to take boards and stuff, but she didn't know that there's different entities to take boards with. She didn't know anything of how she should be preparing for her new role as a nurse practitioner. So this is how this video came about. It really bothered me because in just a few short months, she'll be out practicing or attempting to get credentialed in order to practice, and she has no idea where to start. So I don't know if her school planned on doing that towards the latter part of her program, or I don't know what her school had planned on doing. But in my opinion, if you graduate in November, you should be preparing now. So if you see me looking down, I just have some notes on my laptop that I wanted to make sure that I cover everything. But the first thing that you should be thinking about is, who do you want to test for? Do you want to test with, do you want to be credentialed with the AANP, or do you want to be certified through the ANCC? So they're two different tests. I took the AANP, so I don't have any experience with the ANCC, but from what I hear, the AANP is more clinical based, and the ANCC is more about evidence-based practice and more on that line. So with the AANP, you get, it's pretty similar to, say, the NCLEX, with those style questions where there's more than one right answer. You just have to pick the best answer, but it's at the nurse practitioner role. But the format is pretty much the same. So once you decide, am I going to test with the AANP or am I going to test with the ANCC, then you decide how you're going to study. So each website has like a guideline of what percentage is in this section, what percentage is in cardiology, for instance, what percentage is in respiratory, it has a breakdown of how to kind of outline your study and where to focus your studies at. So once you figure that out, then you have to determine, how long am I going to study for before I test? So what I did was, I wasn't working full time, so I had more time to study. So I actually set a test date and I studied based on that test date. So for instance, I set a date for, say, 2 months later. And so I spent all that time every day preparing for the certification test. So you just have to determine what works for you, how long you want to study, how long you need to study. Do you want to do any prep courses, which I highly recommend? What does your school offer? Some schools offer test prep that's you've already paid for, pretty much. I was going to say it's built in the program, but you've already paid for it. So in my program, we were given these discs, and I would listen to it on my way to clinicals or on my way anywhere I was going. So I would continuously hear the different lectures about the different body systems and how to treat different conditions. So the first thing you should do is, once you've picked who you want to test for, determine how long you're gonna study before you test and formulate your plan of study. The next step that I would say is pretty important is to actually start getting your transcripts from your program that you were doing, and any higher level education transcripts, including your BSN, your MSN, your DMP, whatever route you took. Make sure you get those transcripts, because once you're going through the credentialing process wherever you decide to work, they're going to ask for your transcripts anyway. So instead of waiting until the last minute trying to request transcripts during the credentialing process and potentially making that process longer, then just go ahead and request your transcripts right after graduation. So once somebody requests them, then you'll already have them ready. So the next thing I would say to do after graduation, or even while you're precepting, is to actually get the contact information from your preceptors so you can use them as references on your application. So once you get hired, on your application, of course, they're going to ask for references, but it can't be a neighbor or somebody that has no knowledge of how you work. So what I did is I got all of my preceptors' contact information, and of course I talked to them to make sure it was okay if I used them on an application. So that gives employers the opportunity to speak with your preceptors about how you did as a nurse practitioner student. So even if you don't plan on working right away, it's still good to get those contact numbers and email addresses from your preceptors, because you never know when you'll need them again. You might need them for a next job, or you never know how much information you'll need. So in my opinion, it's just best to be prepared with that type of information right after you graduate, because you never know when you'll need it, or even when you'll need to contact them. Another good thing about keeping the contact information for your preceptors is sometimes you can use those preceptors once you get in practice if you have any questions. So for instance, when I did my pediatric rotation, I don't work with children, so I'm not really familiar with children unless it's in the acute care setting. But when I do have a question, sometimes I reach out to that preceptor, because he is a pediatrician and that's what his specialty is. So it's good to have that wealth of knowledge to kind of help you get through situations that you kind of don't know what to do. Another thing that I suggest is that you continue to network once you've graduated. So you've gained these contacts from your preceptors. Network with other providers in the clinic. You never know. When they could be hiring in the clinic and you already know those people. So it's good to keep in contact and network with them. Also, you can network with at conferences. So yearly I attend the AAMP conference, and it's just hundreds of nurse practitioners there that you can network with, because you never know when you might need something, or maybe you're relocating and you've met this nurse practitioner that's from Dallas, and that's where you're moving. So just make sure you network, because you never know when you will need to contact these people, and they might have information about job opportunities that are not even posted yet. The next thing I would suggest is to actually apply for jobs while you are studying to test. And I only say that because it takes a while to get credentialed. Even as a brand new nurse practitioner, it still takes a while. Sometimes it takes up to 3 months as a brand new nurse practitioner, depending on how big your organization is and how fast they want to push it through. So if you go ahead and apply, you have the opportunity to continue to study, but you can also have the opportunity to possibly have a job as soon as you pass your test. So for instance, while I was testing, I applied to an urgent care position that I saw, a couple of them. And before I even tested, I got phone interviews for the urgent care. So once I graduated and got licensed and everything, I was able to go ahead and move into the credentialing process instead of actually waiting to test and waiting, because that position gets filled quickly. The last thing that I recommend is that you find out what it takes to be licensed in your state. And I also recommend that you kind of review your state laws as far as what nurse practitioners are able to do, because you get in that setting and some people assume that you can do certain things or that you know how to do certain things, and you really don't. So you're going to end up creating a bigger problem than what you really need to. So find out what your board allows nurse practitioners to do. Find out if you have to be board certified. Find out if you have to work with a physician have a physician that kind of signs off on your paperwork, on your charting. Find out exactly what needs to be done to get your license, to maintain your license, and to get prescription authority. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope someone finds this helpful somewhere. I do precept students, and I haven't put myself out there very much, but if you're in the Colorado Springs area, you can always leave a comment below for my contact information to possibly precept with me. Also leave any questions, comments below, and thank you for watching.